California, the land of endless sunshine, ocean views, and million-dollar homes stacked like dominoes along the coast. For decades, the Golden State has been the beating heart of America's real estate fantasy, a place where your home wasn't just a roof over your head, it was a golden ticket to generational wealth. But today, something has changed. The once unstoppable California housing market has slammed to a crawl. Sales have plummeted, listings have dried up, and analysts are warning that the state's real estate empire may be heading for its biggest reckoning in decades. Behind the headlines and the glamour, there's a quiet panic spreading. Not of people rushing to sell, but of people refusing to move at all. It's a paradox. Sky-high prices, record-low sales, and a market that feels completely frozen. The question is, how did California, the state that built the dream, end up trapped in it? Across the country, home sales slowed after the pandemic boom, but in California, the freeze hit like a blizzard in July. According to Cal Matters, new listings in San Francisco dropped more than 17% compared to last year, with similar declines in San Diego, Riverside, and Anaheim. Agents describe neighborhoods where for sale signs collect dust, open houses draw tire kickers instead of offers, and deals fall apart at the last minute. Redfin data shows the number of new homes hitting the market has sunk to its lowest in years, while closings have stalled entirely. Statewide sales are down a shocking 37% from their pandemic peak. That's not a dip. That's a collapse in momentum. California's market is now a paradox of extremes. Homes that sell fast if they're underpriced, and homes that never sell at all if they're even slightly above market value. Buyers are waiting, sellers are holding out, and the whole system feels like it's sinking into quicksand. But this isn't just a story about hesitation. It's a story about math. Brutal, unavoidable math. In 2020, when the pandemic froze the world, the Federal Reserve dropped interest rates to near zero. For homebuyers, it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Millions rushed to buy, and millions more refinanced at historically low rates, often under 4%. But when inflation roared back in 2022, the Fed went the other way, fast. Mortgage rates shot above 6.5%, doubling in just 2 years. For homeowners, that meant one thing. If you sell your house now, you give up your golden mortgage and replace it with one twice as expensive. The typical American homeowner would pay roughly $398 more per month if they sold and bought again at today's rates. In California, the pain is far worse. About $675 more each month statewide and up to $915 more in San Francisco. That difference alone locks millions of Californians in place. Even those who want to move simply can't afford to. Economists have a term for this trap, the lock-in effect, and it's turning California's neighborhoods into financial time capsules. Homes frozen in time, owners refusing to let go, and buyers left standing outside with nowhere to go. But what makes California truly unique isn't just the interest rates. It's the tax system, a half-century-old law that rewards staying put and punishes anyone who dares to move. Back in 1978, Californians voted for Proposition 13, a landmark initiative that capped property tax increases at 2% a year, tied to the home's original purchase price. At the time, it was meant to protect homeowners from runaway inflation and sudden tax hikes. But almost 50 years later, that well-intentioned law has become one of the biggest reasons Californians refuse to sell. The longer you own, the less you pay, and that difference can be staggering. A recent study from the Lincoln Institute of Land Policy found that new buyers in cities like Los Angeles, San Diego, and Sacramento pay more than double the property taxes of neighbors who bought their homes decades earlier. Combine that with low-interest mortgages, and moving starts to look financially insane. Sell your house, and you lose not just your cheap loan, but your cheap tax bill too. When people do the math, they realize it's just not worth it. California's so-called homeowner paradise has become a trap of its own making, one that protects wealth for the few who already own while locking everyone else out. For those still trying to enter the market, the dream feels out of reach. The median sale price in California sits around $859,700, nearly double the U.S. average. Add a 6.7% mortgage rate, soaring insurance costs, HOA fees, and repair bills, and many would-be buyers simply walk away. Gurley describes the phenomenon as a full-blown homebuyer strike, and the numbers back him up. In May 2025, home sales totaled just 24,895 statewide, nearly 8% lower than a year earlier and 25% below the long-term average. Meanwhile, Only 40% of homes sold above their list price, down almost 10 points from 2024. Nearly 29% of listings saw price cuts. Buyers aren't bidding up anymore. They're waiting, hoping the crash will come to them. But while everyone waits, the market keeps tightening. Inventory is finally rising, yet prices haven't fallen enough to matter. Something strange is happening. More homes for sale, but fewer people willing or able to buy them. At first glance, rising inventory sounds like good news. More listings mean more opportunity, right? Not exactly. California had 112,485 homes for sale in May, up almost 19% year over year. June's active listings were the second highest in a decade. But those numbers hide a bigger problem. New construction isn't keeping pace. For every house that comes on the market, almost none are being built to replace it. Developers face soaring land prices, endless red tape, and local opposition that blocks multi-unit housing before it ever breaks ground. So even though inventory is technically up, the underlying shortage remains. And with affordability at record lows, that supply may not matter anyway. Some analysts predict a 15% price correction if inventory continues to climb, but others warn that prices might never truly crash. Instead, they'll just stagnate, staying painfully high, freezing out younger buyers for years to come. California's housing market, once red hot, isn't burning down. It's turning to ice. When California sneezes, the rest of the West catches a cold. For decades, the state's soaring prices have driven migration eastward. Families and retirees fleeing to cheaper states like Arizona, Nevada, Idaho, Utah, and Washington. Entire neighborhoods in Boise and Las Vegas trace their roots back to Californians looking for relief. But if California's market crashes, or even stalls, that exodus could slow dramatically. Fewer Californians selling means fewer moving, which means less demand in neighboring states. Garely warns that a California correction could have big implications for the U.S. market more broadly, potentially cooling regional booms built on outbound migration. In other words, the ripple effects of California's freeze could echo across the country, from slowing construction jobs to shaking investor confidence nationwide. Behind the statistics are people, millions of them. The young couple stuck renting because they can't compete with cash buyers. The retiree who wants to downsize but can't afford to lose their tax break. The families living paycheck to paycheck in homes worth small fortunes but impossible to replace. For the average Californian, the dream of homeownership now demands over 62% of household income, the highest ratio in the nation. It's an impossible equation, and one that's rewriting the social fabric of the state. Communities that once thrived on mobility are calcifying. Generations who once dreamed of owning a home are settling for permanent rent. And the Golden State's promise of reinvention, the idea that you can start over anytime, anywhere, is fading fast. So, is California's housing market crashing? Not in the dramatic headline-grabbing way we've seen in past recessions. There's no fire sale, no flood of foreclosures. Instead, what's happening is quieter, and maybe more dangerous. It's a freeze. A slow, creeping paralysis born of high rates, low supply, rigid tax laws, and decades of policy choices that favored stability over accessibility. California once represented motion, people chasing opportunity, climbing ladders, building futures. Today it represents stasis, a state where the dream is no longer to move up, but simply to stay put. The irony is brutal. In the most dynamic state in America, the real luxury isn't a mansion on the hill, it's the ability to move at all. And as the Golden State stands still, the rest of the country watches, wondering if its frozen dream is a warning of what's to come.